Judai is now the big man on campus as Ryu has graduated into the real world. He was offered to go straight to Obelisk Blue, but turned it down, meets his new groupie member, Kenzan. Instructor Kronos has come around to liking him, and Asuka continues to quietly admire him. And by quietly, I mean that she is constantly with the guy, goes to his dorm, hangs with his friends, and says that he's cool. But he is so dense it makes harem MCs look reasonable. Also, Sho graduates to Raw Yellow to prove he went from to mid by drilling a random from Obelisk Blue. To ensure that Judai still has an instructor bothering him, a Frenchman named Napoleon is hired, and he tries to dismantle Osiris Red, despite the fact that the two best duelists in the academy are in that dorm. Also, the headmaster is missing. More on that later. As this is happening, Ryu is dueling in the real world and gets mollywopped by a silver-haired duelist named Edo Phoenix in the main event of Duel Night. Edo reveals that he uses a Super Sentai deck like Judai, but has the Power Rangers versions. Ryu doesn't recover from this loss and it causes him to go on a losing streak. He loses his sponsorship and credibility as a duelist while realizing he may have peaked in high school. So, he is convinced to go to an underground BDSM steel cage match where he can only leave if he unalives the guy across from him. Ryu embraces the dark side of Yu-Gi-Oh! And has his strategy evolve into OTKs while now sporting an edgelord trench cloak. Honestly pretty based. Edo calls out Judai and says that his Power Ranger cards are better than Judai's Super Sentai ones. He then reveals that he dueled Ryu since he heard that Judai drew with him to prove that Edo is superior. Beneath it all, Edo feels that he must avenge his father that was killed after a card was robbed from his office, and needed to humble Judai because f*** him. Since the card that was stolen was a hero card, he goes after anyone that could potentially possess it. He defeats Judai, which sends Judai into an existential crisis. He cannot see the artwork on his cards and decides to leave Duel Academy. Edo feels pretty good about himself for causing intense depression to a guy he barely knows like a typical redditor. His manager, with a not at all evil expression or hairstyle, is a tarot card reader and predicts that changes will be happening in the future. The future being completely covered in white. Judai's gang are worried about him, but not too much as they still attend classes and don't mention it to the proper authorities because shonen. Sho is the only one proactive enough to venture off into the woods to try to find Judai as proof of character growth, so get on him. Meanwhile, Judai is attempting to sail off the island, but shows that he is no Maui by being absolutely inept at ocean navigating, and a beam teleports him to outer space. When he comes to, Palafin begins explaining that Neospatians need Judai's help to defeat the evil white light with enduring darkness. Kingdom Hearts just vomited violently with that line. Judai finds old cards that he had sent to outer space as part of a Kaiba Corp sweepstakes that had Kaiba believing that he could duel with aliens. Normally, I would chalk it up as insanity, but Kaiba has canonically defied fate against the Shizu, created a dual tracking system across Japan using Windows 98 and dial-up internet, amassed the spaceport, and traveled between dimensions, so he would absolutely be capable of finding life forms outside of Earth to play a children's card game. Seto Kaiba is the man and I won't hear otherwise. What was I talking about? Judai has a tutorial duel against a robot to test out his new deck and journeys back to the academy after feeling love for his cards again. Too bad his sense of direction is as good as Zoro's. While this is happening, Manjome duels Sayo, loses, and is indoctrinated to Sayo's cult named the Society of Light. He then begins craving white food, preaches the white word, and wears white robes. I am struggling to avoid the obvious jokes. Napoleon still wants to end Osiris Red because he's a Marseille fan, so he invites Edo to duel a student and offers a lead on his father's murderer. Edo knows it's bait, but takes it anyway after a conversation with Sayo and how he is destined to duel Judai again. Judai is able to return to Duel Academy in time for the rematch with Edo. He shows off his new cards and proves that, as long as you have the power of positivity, you can work through trauma using a children's card game and get over the cold-blooded murder of your father with a dash of Pak no Jutsu. Edo decides to stick around the academy, but begins to feel uneasy with Sayo after recalling a brief conversation with Manjome and how Sayo is the leader of the Society of Light. Afterward, Manjome duels everyone in the Obelisk Blue dorm, indoctrinates them, and paints the entire building white. Asuka is sick of his crap and duels him for the dorm. She ends up losing to Manjome's armed dragon and has her third eye opened by Sayo. She embraces the light and becomes
the woman in white.
Oh, that is beautiful!
Then the school goes on a field trip instead of ignoring the obvious signs of a cult forming that happens to be taking up a large portion of the school. They head to Domino City where Judai, Sho, and Kenzan meet Grandpa, and he shows them some iconic locations from Battle City. They run off ahead and don't overhear Grandpa getting tased because Kenzan and Sho are separated from Judai where they are challenged by two dudes working for Sayo. They duel, but get kidnapped by the guy in the beanie and are used as bait for Judai. In the meantime, Sayo is able to have a meeting with Seto Kaiba and asks for permission to use Kaiba Land. Kaiba knows that Sayo is foul, but gives the okay, proving he really does not care about anything if it does not involve blue eyes or a tap. Maybe Mokuba. Edo and Judai are invited to Kaiba Land where they enter the virtual reality section to duel Sayo's sister, Mizuchi. When confronting her, it is revealed that she is acting on behalf of Sayo as Edo, Judai, and Sayo's destinies have changed. She duels Edo and Judai, then reveals that she is actually making sure that they are capable of helping Sayo because the young man is taking the cult thing a little too seriously. Meanwhile, Ryu has now gone on a 10-game win streak, but needs to upgrade his deck to match his new attitude. He is invited to the Cyber Dojo and duels against the headmaster. The headmaster tries to appeal to Ryu's goodness, but Ryu has now listened to every Avenged Sevenfold album and claps the headmaster, then proceeds to take the dark side of the cyber deck. Honestly, good for him. Sometime later, Misawa is sick of both Monjome and Asuka's crap and net decks a new one to take down Monjome. While dueling him, Sayo is able to ascertain that Misawa wants to be recognized and revered. This causes Misawa to embrace the white light in order to achieve this personal goal. His karma has him go from main cast to support character to side character immediately after this season. A mistake may have been made. The headmaster is able to return from his shellacking and announces that a tournament will be held at the school with opposing schools entering as part of the competition. The winner gets the Goblet of Fire or something. The competition gets going with a prince from a not at all made up country taking on Sayo. Because the prince is rich, he wagers keys to nuclear missiles in exchange for nothing like any true 1%er. He loses to Sayo and gives him both keys, help pushing the doomsday clock forward. Later, Fubuki tries to get Ryu out of the darkness by using it himself to prove that Red Eyes is way better than Cyber Dragons. While I believe he is right, Ryu says we're Delulu and washes Fubuki. He shows that he still has kindness in his heart by eliminating the darkness from Fubuki, but still feels the need to brag about victory. Sho also duels his brother and is shaken when he sees how far Ryu is willing to go to win a duel, which includes using the bondage shock gear, disrespecting his opponents, and willfully sending his entire deck to the grave. It's a good thing Ishizu tier limits weren't a thing when this series aired. Judai attempts to snap Monjome out of Sayo's control by using his Ojama cards. Monjome feels so much sympathy for trash, he rips off the white cloak and puts back on his musty, crusty, and dusty-ass black coat. Judai then brings back Asuka from the Society of Light by restoring her pride as a duelist. Misawa doesn't get a duel. Instead, he falls in love with the way the school physicist creates theories, strips down to his birthday suit, and runs through the school celebrating science. Misawa should have been the main character. As the society experiences losses, Sayo begins to develop a personality split, with the whiteness wanting to blow up the world and normal Sayo trying his best to not blow up the only planet he can live on. He then gives the two keys to Judai and Edo to ensure that the Light of Destruction doesn't annihilate anything. A random duelist ends up blowing up a pro-circuit stadium without any actual consequence from the authorities, then proceeds to invite Edo onto his boat. Edo obliges while Judai begins his own journey to the final boss. Edo greets the random duelist and is surprised when he is dropped on the boat. The random notes that he killed his opponent that happened to be on a life sentence and gives the typical twisted anime villain smile, while Edo understandably becomes confused. The random challenges Edo to a duel and is then revealed to be the father killer by summoning Destiny Hero Plasma, the final card that Edo's father created. If this feels like it came out of nowhere, it sure did. 52-ish episodes total, and we can't get more than a flashback for a major plot point for one of the main characters. Anyway, Edo is able to overcome the random by using the cards that were left to him by his father and calls game with Destiny Hero Celestial. The white light inside Plasma is destroyed, and Edo reclaims his father's last card. The random is then set on fire and blows up in the boat. Edo is picked up via helicopter by the headmaster, with neither thinking of alerting the authorities of an attempted murder or potential casualties at sea. Neat. Simultaneously, the prince's assistant begs Judai to stop the prince from going ham and asks that Judai duel the prince. She elaborates that the prince had keys to a weapon of mass destruction and that Sayo is planning on using it. Praise science that global conflicts are solved using card games, because I'm pretty sure the Yu-Gi-Oh world is on the brink of World War III with this revelation. Judai stands on business and defeats the prince, which makes him temporarily get out of Sayo's control. Judai then rushes towards the obelisk Blue Dorm to confront Sayo. The headmaster allows Judai and Sayo to save the world from nuclear war in order to oversee a school tournament. This man has his priorities straight. Monjome takes on the final opponent that ends up being a one-off girl from season 1 named Rei and wins the Genex tournament. Rei is accepted into Duel Academy for placing second and will be admitted to Osiris Red. Back to the main plot. Edo takes on Sayo but realizes that his friend is not the one trying to cause the end of the world. He deduces that it is the Light of Destruction that is dueling. He attempts to close out the duel using his father's card, Destiny Hero Plasma, and seemingly wins. The Light of Destruction, however, uses his Arcana Force deck that includes Dio Brando's stand, the World, and the Light Ruler to defeat Edo. Judai steps up to the plate to take on the Light of Destruction as the last line of defense. Edo is to Judai as Neville is to Harry. Could have been the chosen one, but did not have the protag buff. While Judai is dueling the Light of Destruction, the actual and/or spirit of Neos travels to space to stop the satellite. Kenzan uses his Primal Fury to cross the astral plane and summons a dino with his hairdo to help Neos. Judai and the Light of Destruction have a battle of wills where the Light of Destruction advocates for the world to be destroyed in order to be remade, while Judai argues that enduring darkness is needed and understands that while the world is not perfect, it has its heroes to step up when needed. Judai, the hero that the world needs, finishes the Light of Destruction with elemental hero Neos, while Dino Man physically destroys the satellite of death. With the world saved, Sayo returning to normal, and the keys return to safety, Judai and the gang are able to cheerfully silence sophomore. They can handle anything in the future.
どこにいるんだ、10代。私の愛しい人、 勇気10代